situation.
Holla peeps, it's your girl Schree reporting live for SchreeTV. The president is speaking about the shooting on the Navy Yard in D.C.
So we are confronting yet another mass shooting. And today it happened on a military installation in our nation's capital. It's a shooting that targeted our military and civilian personnel. These are men and women who were going to work, doing their job, protecting all of us. They're patriots, and they know the dangers of serving abroad, but today they face the unimaginable violence that they wouldn't have expected here at home. So we offer our gratitude to the Navy and local law enforcement, federal authorities, and the doctors who responded with skill and bravery. I've made it clear to my team that I want the investigation to be seamless so that federal and local authorities are working together. And as this investigation moves forward, we will do everything in our power to make sure whoever carried out this cowardly act is held responsible. In the meantime, we send our thoughts and prayers to all at the Navy Yard who've been touched by this tragedy. We thank them for their service. We stand with the families of those who've been harmed. They're going to need our love and support. And as we learn more about the courageous Americans who died today, their lives, their families, their patriotism, we will honor their service to the nation. They helped to make great. And obviously, we're going to be investigating thoroughly what happened, as we do so many of these shootings, sadly, that have happened, and do everything that we can to try to prevent them. Now, in recent weeks, much of our attention has been focused on the events in Syria. The horrible use of chemical weapons on
the United States. This was a planned event, but as you see, it took a moment there in D.C. to address.
Shut up.
We took towards moving serious chemical weapons under international control so that they can be destroyed. And we're not there yet, but if properly implemented, this agreement could end the threat these weapons pose not only to the Syrian people, but to the world. I want to be clear, though, that even as we've dealt with the situation in Syria, we've continued to focus on my #1 priority since the day I took office: making sure we recover from the worst economic crisis of our lifetimes and rebuilding our economy so it works for everybody who's willing to work hard, so that everybody who's willing to take responsibility for their lives has a chance to get ahead. It was 5 years ago this week that the financial crisis rocked Wall Street and sent an economy already into recession into a tailspin. And it's hard sometimes to remember everything that happened during those months, but in a matter of a frightening few days and weeks, some of the largest investment banks in the world failed, stock markets plunged, banks stopped lending to families and small businesses. Our auto industry, the heartbeat of American manufacturing, was flatlining. By the time I took office, the economy was shrinking by an annual rate of more than 8%. Our businesses were shedding 800,000 jobs each month. It was a perfect storm that would rob millions of Americans of jobs and homes and savings that they had worked a lifetime to build. And it also laid bare the long erosion of a middle class that for more than a decade has had to work harder and harder just to keep up. In fact, most Americans who've known economic hardship these past several years, they don't think about the collapse of Lehman Brothers when they think about the recession. The day they got the gut punch of a pink slip. Bank took away their home. The day they got sick but didn't have health insurance. Or the day they had to sit their daughter or son down and tell him or her that they couldn't afford to send their child back to college the next semester. And so those are the stories that guided everything we've done. It's what in those earliest days of the crisis caused us to act so quickly through the Recovery Act to arrest the downward spiral and put a floor under the fall. We put people to work repairing roads and bridges, to keep teachers in our classrooms, our first responders on the streets. We helped responsible homeowners modify their mortgages so that more of them could keep their homes. We helped jumpstart the flow of credit to help more small businesses keep their doors open. We saved the American auto industry. And as we worked to stabilize the economy and get it growing and creating jobs again, we also started pushing back against the trends that have been battering the middle class for decades. So we took on a broken healthcare system. We invested in new American technologies to end our addiction to foreign oil. We put in place tough new rules on big banks. Rules that we need to finalize before the end of the year, by the way, to make sure that the job is done. And we put in new protections that crack down on the worst practices of mortgage lenders and credit card companies. We also changed a tax code that was too skewed in favor of the wealthiest Americans. We locked in tax cuts for 98% of Americans. We asked those at the top to pay a little bit more. So if you add it all up, over the last 3.5 years, our businesses have added 7.5 million new jobs. The unemployment rate has come down, our housing market is healing, our financial system is safer. We sell more goods made in America to the rest of the world than ever before. We generate more renewable energy than ever before. We produce more natural gas than anybody. Healthcare costs are growing at the slowest rate in 50 years. And just 2 weeks from now, millions of Americans who've been locked out of buying health insurance just because they had a pre-existing condition, just because they've been sick or they couldn't afford it, they're finally going to have a chance to buy quality, affordable health care on the private marketplace. What all this means is we've cleared away the rubble from the financial crisis, and we've begun to lay a new foundation for economic growth and prosperity. And in our personal lives, I think a lot of us understand that people have tightened their belts, shed debt, refocused on the things that really matter. All of this happened because ultimately of the resilience and the grit of the American people. And we should be proud of that. And on this 5-year anniversary, we should take note of how far we've come from where we were 5 years ago. But that's not the end of the story. As any middle-class family will tell you, or anybody who's striving to get into the middle class, we are not yet where we need to be. And that's what we've got to focus on.
All the remaining about the economy today.
Oh, shut up.
Sure. We need more good-paying jobs. We need more broad-based prosperity. We need more ladders of opportunity.
Why did they cut in?
Currently poor but want to get into the middle class. Because even though our businesses are creating new jobs and have broken record profits, the top 1% of Americans took home 20% of the nation's income last year, while the average worker isn't seeing a raise at all. In fact, that understates the problem. Most of the gains have gone to the top 1/10 of 1%. So in many ways, the trends that have taken hold over the past few decades of a winner-take-all economy, where a few do better and better and better, while everybody else just treads water or loses ground, those trends have been made worse by the recession. That's what we should be focused on. That's what I'm focused on. That's what I know the Americans standing beside me, as well as all of you out there, are focused on. And as Congress begins another budget debate, that's what Congress should be focused on. How do we grow the economy faster? How do we create better jobs? How do we increase wages and incomes? How do we increase opportunity for those who have been locked out of opportunity? How do we create better retirement security? That's what we should be focused on, because the stakes for our middle class and everybody who's fighting to get into the middle class could not be higher. In today's hyper-competitive world, we have to make the investments necessary to attract good jobs, that pay good wages, and offer high standards of living. And although ultimately our success will depend on all the innovation and hard work of our private sector, all that grit and resilience of the American people, government is going to have a critical role in making sure we have an education system that prepares our children and our workers for a global economy. The budget Congress passes will determine whether we can hire more workers to upgrade our transportation and communications networks, or fund the kinds of research and development that have always kept America on the cutting edge. So what happens here in Washington makes a difference. What happens up on Capitol Hill is going to help determine not only the pace of our growth, but also the quality of jobs, the quality of opportunity for this generation and future generations.
The President of the United States making the case for action right now in casualty evacuation.
It's like, is everybody
What
talking?
if someone just doesn't know what to do and needs someone to talk to at this point? Absolutely.
Yeah, because the president was talking about the shooting,
Talks about substance abuse and mental health.
and he went on a tangent about the economy, but I figure anytime I get to hear this man speak, I want to know what's going on in his head, so I try to listen. You know what I mean? Like, what the hell's going on? Two shooters are on the loose in D.C. 8 schools on lockdown. What the hell's going on? You know? Jesus. They need to just go ahead and legalize weed everywhere so people can just smoke and stop being so violent. Sit back and think about things for a little minute before they start shooting. You know what I mean? For real. I'm going to give a shout out to my man Frank. Holla Frank. I know he watches SchreeTV. Marianne, I know she watches SchreeTV. All SchreeTV watchers everywhere. Holla. Love y'all. This is fucked up. They're 5 hours into this story. 5 hours. Multiple fatalities on the Navy Yard in D.C. First thing in the morning. People just waking up on the wrong side of the bed, grabbing their guns. That's not what they were made for. It's just not right.
You're watching breaking news coverage here on HLN Breaking America. We'll keep you up to date on everything that we know of this shooting on Washington, D.C. Navy Yard. We'll be right back.
That's right, now I call it. Now, Old Milwaukee, one of my friends told me it was cheap. But let me tell you something. They have mastered the taste of beer in their fake beer. I mean, you think you are drinking a real beer. For real. Yesterday, my football picks, I sucked. I got 3 out of 15. What is that? Okay? That is not a winning ticket. Okay, that's not Charlie Bucket singing he got the golden ticket right there. That was not the golden ticket. Okay, we'll see what happens next weekend. I want to holler at Vaughn. I hope you see this, darling. We will go running. I go to the gym today. As soon as baby wakes up. My lovely. Check out bettiesout.org. Our website is up. So excited about that. Of course, go to SchreeandBaby.com. That goes without saying, right? Holla. Let's see what Lee said, because I asked her if she knew about it. Let her know it's on HLN and CNN. Let's turn on my light. Let's get a little bit of mood lighting. There we go.
I've been briefed by my team on the situation. We still don't know all the facts. But we do know that several people have been shot and some have been killed. So we are confronting yet another mass shooting. And today it happened on a military installation in our nation's capital.
See, so we got it.
It's a shooting that targeted our military and civilian personnel. These are men and women who were going to work.
Like, how silly. Like, you live here in America. You know what I'm saying? Like, why go shooting up people? Go to a hospital and talk to somebody. Bummer. Anyway, everybody, this is a wrap for SchreeTV for the moment. You know more SchreeTV is going to come at you soon. I love you guys. Take it light.